Hey guys, welcome back to my channel SAP with IK. Hope you're all doing good. So today's topic will be on the make to order scenario in terms of the production planning. And this is going to be a live scenario in SAP with the transactions and also the scenarios that we'll have to run in the make to order process. And we'll also discuss what are the prerequisites in order to enable the make to order for a product that we will be manufacturing. And we'll also see how to control the consumption and the planning of raw materials underlying the bill of material in case of a make to order. So let's get started. So for today's topic, we'll be taking an example of a turbine, which is considered as a finished product in SAP. And under this finished product, you know that we'll use several semi-finished, several phantom items, and also raw materials in order to manufacture the entire turbine, right? So there will be a huge list of components under the finished product. But to simplify for the ease of understanding, I've just created a simple structure which has a finished product, and under that we have a semi-finished, and below the SFG we also have the components C1, C2 and C3. So these three are the components that will be used to manufacture the SFG, and then this SFG will be converted into a finished product after performing few operations. So here in the make to order scenario, this would be the standard way how the planning of the raw materials of or the finished product will be taken place in SAP in case we go with a make to order. So the first thing is the finished product for which we are going to create a sales order in case of a make to order. And please note that we'll have to assign this strategy group 20 into the material master only for the finished product and not for the rest of the components under it, right? So once we assign this make to order, then the FG will be put into a sales order, right? And once we have the sales order, only then the production activity or the purchasing activity will be started. So if we look at the stock statistics for this in this particular structure, or maybe the scenario one, the FG will always be posted into the special stock, so which is also treated as the customer stock. So the sales order, when we create it for the FG, we do insert the ship to party and the sold to party, which is nothing but our customer, right? So that particular customer will be assigned with this particular stock that we'll be manufacturing in this scenario. So whenever you create a sales order for the finished product, the dependent requirements will be transferred to the down level items in the bill of material. So here under the bill of material of the FG, we have the semi-finished or the SFG code. So this will also be considered as a special stock. So once we manufacture this product and do the goods receipt of the production order or the process order, typically in case of a make to stock, the manufactured quantity will be posted into the unrestricted use, right? But in case of this scenario of a make to order, the quantity will be posted into the special stock, which is also called as a customer stock, right? So even though we have sufficient quantity available in the plant to meet the requirement against this particular finished product, which is coming from the sales order, so that will not be considered as the available stock, right? So let's say we create a sales order for 10 pieces of the FG material, and you already have a stock of 20 pieces in the inventory. So that will not be considered into the planning, and again it creates a new planned order for the finished product against the sales order with the reference of an account assignment. Okay, so once you convert this planned order into a production order or a process order, the account assignment will be carried starting from the top level till the last level of the bill of material. So the semi-finished item will also have a planned order if it is in-house manufactured, and again the account assignment of the same sales order coming from the FG will be transferred to the semi-finished item. In the same way, when we talk about the raw materials, so the purchase requisitions and the purchase orders, these replenishment elements will also be account assigned to the same sales order that has been assigned or created for the finished product. So this is a standard way how this works in the make to order, and we are going to consider it as a scenario one. So now if we go into the second scenario, wherein which you might have a specific condition in the plant saying that for the raw materials, I don't want to use the special stock category, but I would like to consume these raw materials based on the available quantity in the inventory, right? So here, the consumption or the availability of these components should be checked at the unrestricted stock level, right? And whereas the special stock will be treated for the other components and also the semi-finished item. So this is another way we are going to discuss in today's session and see what settings we'll have to implement in order to achieve this particular scenario in consuming the components from the unrestricted stock. Coming to the third scenario. So in this slide, we can see that so starting from the finished product until the components, until the last level of the components, everything is being managed with the unrestricted stock. So if it is unrestricted stock, this wouldn't fall under the make to order itself, right? So this scenario 3 is actually ruled out. I mean, this is not how it works in case of a make to order. Okay, so just keep in mind that the special stock will always be considered for the finished product in case of a make to order scenario. So now let's get into SAP and see what are the prerequisites in order to enable the make to order and how to manage the planning of the components in case of a MTO scenario. So here I'm in SAP. Now let me go to MD04 and look at the statistics of the material that we'll be using in today's example. So AM2 600 is my material or the finished product. Right. So if we look at the statistics of this material, so which is finished product, let's consider it as a finished product, but it's an semi-finished. So you can just ignore the material type, and we are going to treat it as a finished product. And if we look at the bill of material for this product, going to CS03, and we could see that there is another component like component 1 and component 2 under the bill of material. So now going back to MDO4, and if we look at the stock statistics, we do have an availability of 4 pieces in the unrestricted use. So if we look at the settings in the material master, I've just assigned the strategy group 20, which is a make to order. Okay, and the mode of manufacturing, the mode of procurement is in-house manufacturing for this material. So now let me create a demand for this material through a sales order. Going to VA01. So we'll assign a ship to party and a sold to party, and also the material code AM2-600. And the order quantity I'm going to use now is just 2 pieces, just to show you that we have a requirement that is less than the available stock in the inventory, and the plant is 1000. Okay, now save the sales order. So here our sales order number is 19390. So let's go back to MD04 and refresh the list. So we can see the requirement has been triggered in MD04. So if we look at the net requirement calculation, so here we have an available quantity of 4, but still it has been ignored by the sales order. So we are not going to use the available stock. So instead, the system has generated a requirement for this particular sales order. So there could be a few other scenarios. You could say that I already have sufficient inventory in the plant, and my customer is forcing me to ship that particular item, and we are into the make to order scenario. So in that case, you can do transfer posting from the unrestricted stock into the sales order stock through the transactions Migo. So for now, I'm going to run MRP for this material. So MRP has been executed, and we could see that we have one planned order and one purchase requisition created, and then the dependent requirements are two, since we have two components in the bill of material. So if I refresh the MDO4, I expect to see a planned order that is actually created to fulfill the requirement coming from this particular sales order for two pieces. So if I just do a drop down under this planned order and in the order progress report to see the dependent requirements under it. So we could see those two components, right? And then it says that this particular material is being consumed from the unrestricted stock. And whereas the first component AM200 that has got a purchase requisition. So if we go into the details of the first component, so here we have an available stock of 11, and then we have the dependent requirement which we just created through the planned order for the AM2 600 material, and that has been created. So for this dependent requirement, we have a purchase requisition generated as well. And now if the same way, if I go to the component material, which is a raw material, so we have sufficient inventory in the plant to meet the requirement of this two pieces, right? So let's see what settings should we change in order to make it completely a make to order. So in the material master of the raw material, if we go to the MRP4 view, so here we have the individual collective indicators. So if we choose this as the collective requirements only, in that case, the make to order scenario will be ignored and the available stock in the plant will be assigned to the requirements coming from the sales order, even though in case of a make to order, right? So this is one way where you can actually control the consumption of components irrespective of your sales order. So you don't want to procure these raw materials again whenever you have a sales order being created. Instead, you would like to issue or maybe consume the components that are already available in the inventory. But if it is like a purely make to order and wherein which the raw materials might be provided by the customer in some scenarios, right? So there could be a few scenarios where the raw materials could be provided by the customer themselves, and we'll just do the manufacturing or the assembly process and then give the finished product to the customer. So in that cases, you would like to plan these raw materials only if the stock has been provided by the customer. So in that case, you can assign the individual collective indicator as one, or maybe just leave it as blank. So the blank value, it basically supports for both individual and collective requirements. So now I'm going to close this and go back to the MD04. Right. So we'll go to the finished product. Yeah. And the next step is basically to convert this planned order into a production order. So I'm doing it right from here. So in the production order, we can also see the account assignment of the sales order and also the ordering party, right? So here if we have this field updated with the sales order number, then it means that this production order is a complete make to order scenario, and we are just manufacturing this quantity only for this particular customer. Okay, and now if we go into the components, okay, we do have missing parts, and that is for the uh, component AM200, which has a purchase requisition. So we'll come to that. So go to the components, and we see these two items coming from the BOM. And here in the production order, you see this column for the special stock, right? So based on the material master settings that we just discussed on the MRP4 view in the individual and collective requirements. So this special stock indicator will be transferred from the material master into this production order. So let's see the values that we have here in this special stock. Right. So if it is blank, it means that the consumption of the raw material will happen from the plant stock. And whereas if the special stock indicator is 1, it means that this is going to be consumed from the customer stock. In the same way, if you have a requirement to consume it from a project stock or maybe a consignment stock, so you can certainly assign these special stock indicators accordingly. So for now, we'll go with the consumption of the first item from the special stock and the consumption of the second item from the unrestricted stock. So I'm going to release the production order. So the order has been released and do a refresh. So here we can see that the production order has been updated with the status released. And the elements under this particular sales order will always be tagged to the sales order number itself. So the first one that you see here is the sales order stock. And the second element is the sales order number along with the line item and also the schedule line. So the last one 0001, this is the schedule line number. And below that we have the production order. So since we have not yet manufactured the finished product and not yet processed the production order, we see the stock here in the sales order stock section as 0. So once we post the goods receipt against the production order, that is where the stock will be replenished at the customer stock level, but not at the plant stock. Okay. So in order to first manufacture the production order, we'll have to go to the component, right? I mean, we'll have to make sure that the components are ready for use. So for that, I'll go to the MD04 for the component, which is to be purchased. So this is the first component. So despite of the available quantity, we are still going to purchase this item in order to meet the requirement. If you have noticed earlier, before we converted the planned order into a production order for the finished product, we saw this as a dependent requirement. And since now we converted the planned order into a production order, it has been converted into an order reservation. Okay, so we are going to convert this purchase requisition into a purchase order. Let me choose a vendor. Okay, now that the purchase order is going to be created, I'll just show you the account assignment tab here. So in the account assignment, we could see that the account assignment category is E, which is the customer order, and we can see the sales order number under this particular tab. And you here in the header level, you could also see the account assignment field updated with the indicator E. Okay, and let's do a check and save the purchase order. So now if I refresh the MD04, the purchase requisition is expected to be converted into this purchase order, right? So now we'll have to bring in the stock for the purchase order, right? So let's assume that the supplier has shipped the goods to our plant and we are ready to receive it into the plant or the warehouse. So here I'm going to do a posting against the purchase order from the Migo, goods receipt, and then choose the category as the purchase order. Okay, so now if you see that in a normal scenario, whenever you do a goods receipt, we will see the movement type as 101, right? But here in this particular case, we will see the movement type as 101 with the special stock category as E, right? Why? Because the stock will be posted into the special stock or the sales order stock. So let me do a check. Okay. Or maybe I'll just check the stock in which storage location it is available. Okay, it is 001. Okay, let's do another check and then post it. Yeah, the document is good. And now we are going to post the goods receipt against the purchase order. So the document is posted. Now if we go back to the MD04 and do a refresh, so we could see that the stock of two received from the purchase order has been moved or posted to the special stock or the customer order, but not to the unrestricted stock. So if we go into the stock overview or the MMB, so here we could see the difference. So this is the available stock in the plant of 11, and this is the sales order stock of 2 pieces. So if you'd like to see the details of the sales order stock, then click on the detailed display icon. So here we could see the sales order document or the sales order number, and as well as the item which has been assigned with this special stock. So this stock lies in the unrestricted use but assigned to this particular sales order. So no other requirement can actually consume this sales order stock unless you move this stock from the sales order stock into the unrestricted use manually through MyGo. Okay, so since we have the materials in ready for use, so let's go back to the production of the finished product. So it is AM2 600. So now let's do the goods issue. So go to goods issue, order, and then paste the production order. So here we could see two items coming from the production order, which is again carried on from the bill of material. So if you look at the first item, which is a make to order, that we just procured. So it has a special stock saying that it will be consumed from the sales order stock. And whereas the second item, which is a raw material, we are consuming it from the unrestricted use, right? If we look at the details of this item level, under the detailed data, you could see in the weight tab, it will be consumed from 261 E movement type. But whereas for the second item, we can see that the movement type should is just 261, right? We don't have any special stock category here. So I'm going to check both of these. So check and do a check here, and then do the consumption. So now the components have been consumed into the production order. So we'll just make sure that the consumption has been updated. And for that, we can actually go into the production order and look at the status. So here you could see that the status has been updated as GMPS, which means that the goods movement have been posted. And also we can look at the documented goods movements from the go to in the header menu, and then we can see that these two are the components that have been consumed. Okay, and now the next step is to post the confirmation of the operations in the production order. So for that we are going to CO11N. So in terms of the confirmation, there wouldn't be any difference. It could be a make to order or a make to stock, but that doesn't make any difference. Why? Because we are just confirming the activities. So there are no stock movements involved in this unless you go with the backflash or an auto GR scenario. So I'm going to post this confirmation. So now the confirmation has been posted, and we can verify that in the production order. Again, with the status, go to the header screen, and here we should see the status as CNF. CNF means it has been finally confirmed. And again, if you go with a partial confirmation, you would see the status as PCNF. So PCNF basically stands for a partial confirmations. So right now we have posted the goods issue, and then we have posted the confirmation, and the next step is to post the goods receipt against this production order. So I'm going to copy this order and go to the transaction Migo. So choose the category as goods receipt and the order as, choose it as a production order, and then the delivery note, few mandatory things here, and again the storage location to which the stock should be posted. So item okay, and then do the check. Okay, these are a few prerequisites. So I'm just giving some dummy data over there into the goods recipient. Okay, that should be here. Okay, again do a check. So now it is good to be posted. So here the movement type, if we go into the detailed data, so here we could see that the movement type is 101E, right? E again stands for the special stock or the sales order stock, and now the stock will be posted into this sales order stock, right? So I'm going to post it. So before we post this goods receipt, let's take a look at the stock statistics one more time. So we have 4 quantity available in the plant and 0 in the sales order stock, right? So now I'm going to post it. Okay, the document has been posted, and if I do a refresh, so here the stock has been updated in the customer stock, but not in the available stock or the unrestricted use. So this stock, it has been hard assigned or maybe hard pegged or hard linked. So we can use these terminologies while linking the stock to the sales order. So this has been hard linked to this particular sales order or the customer, and no other customer or maybe a different sales order or maybe a different requirement for this material cannot actually consume this particular quantity that has been allocated to the sales order. So unless you do any manual transaction while going into MyGo and do a transfer posting from the special stock to the unrestricted stock, but automatically system is not going to allocate this sales order stock, right? So the only way, in case of any urgencies or a special scenario where you would like to move the stock from one sales order to a other sales order, or maybe one customer to the other customer, only then it would be possible through Migo, and the movement types would be depending on what scenario are you trying to do. So here there could be a different movement type while transferring the stock from one sales order to other sales order, and there would be a different movement type when you are trying to post the stock from the unrestricted from the customer stock into the unrestricted stock. And again, in the same way, if you'd like to move the stock from the unrestricted use or the available stock in the plant to the sales order stock, so again there would be a different movement type again. So unless you do any manual activity, this stock will not be allocated to any other requirements coming into this material. So that is how the make to order will work. And please make sure that you just assign the strategy group only into the product that will be assigned into the sales order. And the low level items or the items under the bill of material are not required to be updated with the strategy group. And then the other setting is for the raw materials. If you would like to go with the consumption of this material from the plant stock or the special stock, that would be controlled based on this individual and collective indicators. So let's say your master data has been set up with the individual requirements only, right? So in this case, we will have the special stock indicator in the production order updated, right? So if I go into the production order, so here in the production order, if we go into the components overview screen, so we have the special stock indicator. So maybe for this particular production order, you don't want to consume this material from the special stock, but you would like to consume it from the unrestricted use. So here itself, you can remove this special stock indicator. So you can just make it as blank, right? And you, let's say if it is being consumed from the unrestricted stock based on the material master setting, and then you would like to make it to be consumed from the sales order stock, then you can assign the special stock indicator here as well, right? So though you have those settings defined in the material master, but only for this production order you would like to do it in a different way, you can actually play with these settings in the special stock assigned to the component overview screen. So that is how the make to order scenario works, and also the management of components and their consumption based on the stock availability can be controlled with the special stock indicators and the individual collective indicators from the material master.